Again, welcome to our Esports 101 webinar. My name is Ryan Casey. I am the director of our esports program for the Michigan High School Esports League, which is part of MASSP, the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals. So I'm really excited for you guys to hang out with us and our friends over at Play Versus, who help us operate and run this league. We have Jacob, Mike, and Claire that are joining us from the Play Versus team. They're gonna kind of run through kind of the basics of how this league works and operates, some background information about esports, and then myself and possibly my colleague Maggie will talk about some things that we have in store for this school year. But again, if you have not introduced yourself on the chat, if you can go ahead and do that, we would appreciate that. Also, just a quick note. We are going to be using the Q&A today, so if you have questions that you want to ask along the way, please go ahead and enter those in that Q&A, that little button at the bottom of your Zoom bar there. And we'll also have a section of the presentation towards the end where we'll stop and wait for any questions you might have before we sign off for the webinar. So again, thanks for being here. Go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat, and I will hand it over to Play Versus.
Hey, so thanks, Ryan. We appreciate being involved in Michigan esports, and just really excited to be here and share a lot more information about getting started with esports in the state of Michigan. So first, I want to dive into today's agenda. So we're going to start with who Play Versus is, then continue on with the what, when, and where, so you can understand why this is the perfect time to jump into the Play Versus community. And we can ensure that your questions will be answered and you'll feel confident going into the next steps. So first, who is Play Versus? Well, I am Play Versus, and thankfully Jacob is Play Versus as well. And so we are a part of this amazing community and tremendous organization of talented professionals that work to assist coaches and their players, promoting the best experience possible each and every time you practice, scrimmage, and compete for a league championship. So I have worked with all of our Michigan coaches this past year, and I'm looking forward to continuing these relationships as we enter the new year. Jacob is Michigan's sales rep, and so we work side by side. He brings in new coaches, and I continue supporting those that are returning from last year. So again, thank you for joining us today. We welcome you all into the Play Versus community, and we'll kick things off with a brief overview of the Play Versus structure. So Play Versus is the leading amateur esports platform in the US. Players come together to compete, fans gather to spectate, and coaches can easily manage their programs. So as you can see, we've worked very hard to create credible partnerships that support our mission of powering competition for everyone, everywhere. And we've seen tremendous growth over the past 4 years. The NFHS has been sanctioning high school competition for over 100 years. They decide what a high school sport is. So through our partnership, our platform is the only place to play recognized varsity level esports. But beyond our stats and missions and all the people you'll hear from today, Play Versus has developed an internal structure of people that you can trust. So from the top, you'll see our publishers team. They work with companies like Nintendo, Riot, Blizzard, and more, not only to be recognized as an official league, but to work together to create positive environments for teachers and students alike. From there, our states team works with associations such as MHSEL to create and execute a plan that aligns with your state's goals and priorities when it comes to esports and athletics. Looking down from there, we've got our support team. These are made up of over 50 experienced professionals available to guide you through the process and make you and your admins feel confident in creating the best esports program you can. So for those of you who haven't yet visited our help center, please take a moment and bookmark help.playversus.com. And that is a quick way to browse learning material and start your esports journey with Play Versus. So now I want to hand things over to Jacob, again, our Michigan sales rep, and he's going to talk about what is possible and what we are offering you and your players. Jacob.
Yeah, thank you very much for that introduction, Mike. I appreciate it. Super excited to be here today with, a lot of fellow Michiganders here in Grand Rapids myself, born and raised in the UP. So definitely exciting to see all of this happen here in my home state. So with all of us here to support and encourage you, what can we accomplish together? Well, first, it's important to know that most esports athletes are reporting this is the first time they participated in an after-school activity. I think it goes without saying that that information alone is encouraging motivator to bring more school pride to these students that they've compared to what they've previously seen. In addition, esports is a wide variety of skill levels, and all are welcome here at Play Versus. Our structured coach-led leagues allow them to bring their interest to a place where their skills can be learned, developed, such as teamwork, communication, leadership, et cetera, et cetera. And looking beyond the immediate benefits, we found that creating a space for students to enjoy esports has led to new projects and ideas that we can continue their career paths long term. For example, we've seen art students lead the way, designing their team logos or maybe some jerseys or banners or whatever it might be, and as an additional way to contribute to the program and enhance their natural abilities. So we have a esports survey here that we had back in March. It's pretty awesome to see these statistics, and kind of briefly touched on this earlier. It's important. We pulled over 550 coaches and players combined to find the benefits that we've seen, and ultimately made a difference in their high school experience and how they viewed their school. For example, a student reported being more lively and dedicated to something other than typical schoolwork. In addition, both coaches and parents have reported a positive shift in attitudes at the school. It's pretty awesome stuff to see there. And here's a quick little breakdown, kind of based on the titles that we offer. We offer 8 different titles for students to compete in against other schools. The most popular titles are Super Smash Bros., Rocket League, and League of Legends. These are the 3 titles that we have a Michigan State Championship for here. Note that the titles are all played on specific days at 4 p.m. Eastern time, so it gets pretty consistent. Our platform has the capability to request reschedules, but we try and do our best to avoid those. And then we also have some other titles as well that are played more at the regional level. So it'll be in the Eastern Regional League, competing against schools in your same time zone, across the area. And those titles are Splatoon, Mario, NBA 2K, and Hearthstone. With Hearthstone, it's pretty nice that we are able to offer some card packs for those. And then with NBA 2K, we also are able to offer discounted game codes for those as well. And that kind of leads into the next slide here about the premium access. So, with the premium access, you'll have multiple promotions running at any given time with Play Versus. For example, we're just wrapping up our Nintendo Switch promotion that allowed us to supply hundreds of Switches to programs across the country. We'll continue to provide game codes for those in need for our Nintendo titles. And then also the Champion Unlock, which is a feature that we do have for League of Legends. Among other things that we're able to offer for, some of the access of being a part of Play Versus. So tying back to the values we articulated earlier, you can start engaging more students in school-sponsored activities right now. It only takes one student to start a program. Our team is here to help set up programs of all sizes, knowledge levels, competition levels, everything in between. Provide a white glove onboarding process with supporting resources to make sure that it's easy as possible to get up and running. On the screen now, we have a heat map of all the schools that have participated in the Spring 2022 League. We had over 53 schools compete in Michigan. That was a combination of 140 different teams across all of our titles. We're looking forward to adding more schools onto our heat map with the fall 2022 season. Personally find it pretty cool to be able to visualize this and kind of see, exactly where all the teams are competing from in all the corners of the state. The Play Versus app is your mission to control your esports program. Coaches can verify students, set up teams, enroll and compete in scholastic competitions. Day-to-day players and coaches can log in and check their rankings, see who they're playing next, etc. Play Versus is committed to adding features and enhancing our esports experience. And one of the new features that kind of want to touch on here is our new smart scheduler that we have just rolled out this summer. The smart scheduler, we've created is we're committed to finding you an opponent at your scheduled match time to reduce the number of forfeits and the impact forfeits have on other teams. We've developed this program here known as the smart scheduler. Our goal with the new system is allow teams to play during their originally scheduled match time as often as possible. So for everyone's first week of competition, we'll require them to start in the smart scheduler queue. And then after that, upon successful match completion using the smart scheduler, your next matchup will not require you to match queue and will be automatically scheduled as shown here on the screen. So definitely pretty neat to see and should definitely help with the amount of forfeits and likely be playing every week that you're scheduled to play. And here we get the dynamic match reporting. So coaches will be able to input game results as the match progresses. The feature will enable coaches to view results as the games are being played. Also, in case you need to discuss those results with the opposing coach or anyone else who's involved, you'll see the role of the person you're talking to in the chat, as well as their user icon, name, timestamp, and everything kind of tied together nicely here on the platform. We also have a scrimmage feature kind of wanted to mention here. You can use the scrimmage tool to find friendly competitions with other schools to practice gameplay without risking your record. You can filter by the time you want to practice and even skill level now, meaning you'll find quality competition whenever you need it. There's an ability to set a time that makes sense for your school and kind of open up that invite for other schools to find and accept and join, or you can browse other open scrimmages that are offered by other schools. If they have a time listed of 3 p.m. at Monday, say, you can go ahead and accept that invite and be practicing with them at that time. Definitely a limitless possibility with the whole scrimmaging side of things in this program here. So to kind of pass things back over to, the scheduling and stuff with the actual dates, it's pretty important here with, everything coming up pretty quickly. Our registration is now open. It's been open for a bit. You'll be able to have until September 16th to register your teams. You don't need to know your exact roster until the week of your first match, which allows you to finalize your enrollments and then kind of worry about your roster specifically later. And we'll start the preseason the week of Labor Day. So the preseason's optional, but it's a great chance to kind of practice. And I think the biggest thing definitely above all for new schools is to be able to kind of test the technology and just get in that routine. So we'll have 3 weeks of that, which will then lead us into our regular season.
Hey, Jacob, can I jump in real quick?
Absolutely.
If you go back one slide, so I just want to reiterate. So, earlier when he was talking about the forfeits and thing, right? So this is still a pretty new environment and realm, right? Imagine the first couple of years of organized football or basketball, right? There's probably a lot of kinks that we were working out, right? Or MHSEL was dealing with. So one of the reasons, we're putting such emphasis on this is because, like with the technology or internet filters, a lot of times that isn't even controlled at the local high school. You have to go through your ISD. So you have to get the attention of an IT administrator that might not even be in your building or your district, right? So it really is, it's not required, but it really is a great opportunity to make sure that all of the certain filters and things are whitelisted, that your equipment's working properly, because otherwise that might take a week or two to figure out. And then there goes the first 2 weeks of the regular season, which happens sometimes. A team might have to forfeit. Now you're starting 0-2. And, so we're just trying to minimize that and make sure everybody has a great experience, both the teams that you're going against. We want them to have somebody to play against and compete, but then for the new schools as well. So I just wanted to touch base on that. Thanks.
Yeah,
thank you. That was really great.
Thank you. Yeah. And then after that, we kind of have just a quick breakdown of what the actual season looks like once we get through that preseason. The regular season matches will start the last week of September and run through the week before Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving break, we'll kind of reconnect with the playoff teams to kick off the postseason. And then that'll lead to our fall championships, which will be in mid-December. Awesome. And then you're going to kick things back over to Mike.
Yeah. Thanks, Jacob. I appreciate that. So what can you do today? So, I know getting started can feel very overwhelming, but rest assured, just you being here is the biggest first step. By creating this opportunity, by offering your time as a coach, that is what's going to be the most critical piece of this puzzle. So with that, I want to give Jacob a little break from talking, and I want to dive a little bit deeper into the specific action items you can take right now today to get started. First, get your schedule finalized and make sure that you have space reserved that you'll need for both game day matches and practice time. Then go ahead and jump into playversus.com and sign up to familiarize yourself with the platform. We've got a lot of great walkthrough videos in our Knowledge Center to help you with that. Here you'll find access to coach resources, materials, video walkthroughs, and also our rule books. Most importantly, like Ryan touched on, please start actively working with your IT departments now to make sure that there are no technical issues that arise last minute. Get that stuff set up. That way you can take advantage of the preseason weeks that don't have any impact on your official record. That way, week 1 of the regular season, you are up and running. You have confidence in your teams and in your technology. Lastly, very similar to traditional sports, get your school involved. So voice your upcoming games, celebrate your wins, and spread the word about your program. What this is going to do is your players themselves, the students, will benefit from all this encouragement from their peers and naturally start to become advocates for the program themselves. All the while, they'll continue to improve their grades, which ensures continued eligibility. And then they'll be learning critical life skills about sportsmanship and commitment. So I want to pass it back to Jacob, who will talk about our pricing and our plans.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So have a little bit of a price breakdown on screen now. And the number one goal we have is to be able to offer a pricing option for all types of schools and their programs. So all the packages include access to our in-game perks that we had mentioned earlier, professional services that include onboarding, implementation, and then having a dedicated customer success rep and access to our customer experience team. Out of the plans, our most popular one is the unlimited plan, which gives schools access to all the approved titles and competitions, unlimited passes with unlimited players, and that'll leave you eligible for both the fall and the spring seasons. But then we also do have a per pass plan. A pass is good for one player for each title per season, and passes are purchased in bundles and can be good for the fall 22 season. And if they're not used in the fall, they can then roll over into the spring season. And then if there's any sort of reason that maybe, things work out and there's passes used above the original plan, then we'll just have an overage charge of $80 per player for each pass used. And then we also have some incentives and discounts for Title I schools, game changer programs, which are all female schools, and then the unified leagues as well. If there's any sort of question centered around that, we will have a QR code here after the webinar shortly that'll, kind of give you a quick link to be able to set up some time to speak with myself or Mike or anyone else directly in a one-on-one setting to kind of walk you through exactly what those incentives and discounts are for those schools. So that's kind of a quick breakdown of the pricing here. And at this point, we'll have the QR code that you're able to scan now to, kind of be able to put a bit more information about maybe certain things that would make sense to connect on an individual basis with one of us for. And, we'd be more than happy to answer those at that time in an individual one-on-one setting. But then we also just want to open up the floor here for questions that, might have been, on top of mind today and stuff that we can maybe cover right now.
It looks like Thomas asked a question and Claire already answered, but for those that maybe haven't seen it yet in the Q&A, just asking about, who are the coaches typically? And Claire just mentioned that it's primarily, teachers, faculty, or staff. Parents can do it, obviously, through the school's own background check, plus what Play Versus has them do to get registered. But it's typically teachers. I just want to reiterate that a lot of teachers are going to be hesitant to do this, thinking you have to be a gamer, and that is so far from the truth to do this. The kids, the students, they know everything there is to know about these games. They're already playing these games, right? So they're not looking for you to be like, hey, teach me how to play League of Legends. Will you explain to me? Like, they already know. Chances are if they want to play League of Legends, it's because they already play it with their friends and they want to do it for their school now. So they're just looking for a safe place to do this with a responsible adult that can help take communications from us, from the league or from Play Versus, and reiterate that, somebody that can handle the forms and, relay information about changes in games or schedules and stuff for parents. So it's really, it's kind of like the old NBA, ABA days with like player coaches, really. There's going to be probably some of your lead students are going to take the lead in terms of actual coaching. Now, having said that, there's a lot of resources available that Play Versus offers. We really are trying to offer some different webinars for new coaches. We actually have a new coaches webinar coming up in a couple weeks to go over like kind of best practices, hints and tips, connect you with some other coaches that have been doing this for a while. You do not have to be a gamer to do this. And I just wanted to point that out. So,
so in my experience, Ryan, I've seen a lot of teachers that come from a tech background or a computer science background, they naturally have this interest in esports. But I got to tell you, I've seen so many teachers that have zero idea anything about video games. I've had theater teachers that have had in their very first season as an esport coach bring the team to the Final Four of the playoffs. I've had another coach that had never been a coach before in any athletic team, not baseball, no traditional sports in his past. And his esport team won the first championship in his district in Georgia. So no other actual like baseball team, basketball team, volleyball team had ever won a championship in the state of Georgia coming from their district. But he started an esports team and he was the first coach to do it. So that's got to feel really great. So please don't let this intimidate you. It doesn't really matter what your background is. We're here to help. And like Ryan said, the kids are already gaming experts. They will definitely lead the charge, and they can be a team captain and showcase their leadership abilities.
Yeah, even for our own spring championships, we had Bloomfield Hills, a new school, join our league just in the spring, and they won 2 different championships, which is really cool to see. So you don't have to be some established program or club. You can be brand new to this and still do pretty well. We do have some questions coming in the Q&A. No problem at all. You ask as many questions as you want, Thomas. Just ask about equipment and what would students need to play. It's going to depend on the game. So maybe even Jay can go back to that one slide that listed the thing. So I know we have schools where students bring in their own consoles to play, PS4, Xbox, Nintendo Switch. I've had principals go out and buy on like Facebook Marketplace, buy secondhand used consoles for a couple $100. I know that PlayVersus offers a promotion. I don't know if it's still going on, so I don't want to misspeak here, Mike, but if you are a new school sometimes and you join and you're going to enter in the Nintendo team, that you are able to sometimes get a Nintendo Switch. I don't know if that promotion has already passed or not, but it kind of depends. Certain games have different amounts of teams playing. So League of Legends is 5 kids on a team. So you would need at least 5 PCs for that. Smash Brothers is on a Switch. You have it's 3 versus 3, but they don't all play at the same time. It's like one kid plays another kid from another team, then they pass the controller for the next match, kind of a thing. Rocket League is 3 versus 3, so you would need 3 PCs are typically played on PC. Some of these you can play on any device, and then other ones are more individualized, but it just depends on the game that you're doing. And since most of them are spread out different days, it's not like you need 25 PCs set up to be able to do this necessarily. And but yeah, we definitely have some bring it in for their own console. Others, the school provides it. It just kind of depends on what you have to kind of just get your toes in the water, so to speak.
That's right.
Yeah, and if there's any sort of situations where you all might have a computer lab or a Nintendo Switch and would like maybe some advice on what the best titles to start in would be more than happy to discuss that, over email or over a call, whatever makes sense for you all individually. Just to find any ways to kind of, like was mentioned, get your feet wet with it. So there's definitely a lot of different avenues to compete in these titles based on what technology you might have or what you might be able to find.
Jacob asked about the actual Michigan schedule. So the screen that you have right now, so League of Legends, Smash Brothers, Rocket League, those 3 kind of bigger logos right there, those are the 3 main state leagues that MHSEL offers. So only Michigan schools in our league will compete on those 3, and they are on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday during the week. So we'll start towards the end of September. We'll play about 8 weeks or so of regular season. That'll take us to late November when playoffs would start. And again, kind of depending on how many teams we have, we want to make it competitive to get into playoffs. So sometimes it's 16, 24, 32 teams will make it in. And then we'll run playoffs, which will take a couple weeks, ending with the championship, which is going to be on December 10th this year. And I have some slides that'll talk about that. The other games, Splatoon, Madden, Hearthstone, NBA 2K, Mario Kart, those are more of like a regional national approach where you're going to play kids from other states, just because we might not have the numbers to run a healthy league. We don't want to run a league when there's only 10 teams competing, right? We want to make sure there's a strong level of competition. Fun fact, though, we did have a student from East Kentwood High School win the Eastern Regional for Madden this last year, which was pretty cool to see, and pretty competitive league as well. So But
Yeah,
those are
so
the main three right there on Tuesday, Wednesday,
Mhm.
Thursday: League of Legends, Smash, and Rocket League.
Jacob Bala, I put a link in your answer to our schedule for our articles, so you can hyperlink and bookmark that schedule for yourself with all the dates, key dates of the season that we had earlier. I see another question in the chat from Sarah Jardine. She's asking, can we use the Play Versus platform to create scrimmages if we have multiple high schools participating in the district? Yes, absolutely. So the scrimmage, you can seek out neighboring high schools or rival high schools from across the state of Michigan, or you can play against schools from across the country. The customization is there for you to filter by day of the week, time, state, and even skill level. So it's a great feature to get some practice in and test out all your equipment.
And especially,
you also asked if there's.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
She also asked if there are certain systems that you recommend for starting schools or districts. So a lot of the games that can be played on PC, the school already has a computer lab that has the capable equipment to handle these types of games. Ryan mentioned earlier, League of Legends and Rocket League can both be played on PC just fine. The games are not so graphically intense or heavy that they require certain gaming rigs. For others, certain schools might have a bring your own device policy. The kids can bring their console from home if the school IT allows that. So that would be including PlayStation or the Nintendo Switch.
And I just mentioned the Switch is just it's a very low barrier to understand the games and whatnot. Like if you have some kids that are really new and maybe aren't already doing like the League of Legends thing, like everybody understands, Mario Kart, it's racing, right?
Right.
Everybody, Super Smash Brothers, it's kind of a cartoony fighting game type of a thing. It's pretty easy to understand. You can get a lot of kids to play on the one console, which is kind of nice. But we're gonna keep having questions if you can. If you can send them through the Q&A, great. If not, we'll keep checking the chat there. And the Play Versus team will keep responding. I want to kind of switch gears, if that's okay, and just kind of talk a little bit about some cool things we're planning on doing this year for MHSEL that we have planned for the fall and into the spring. So I am going to share my screen now, if that's okay. We can maybe put this QR code up one more time at the end if people need to get that picture if they haven't done it yet. Otherwise, I'm going to share my screen.
I'll stop mine here.
So I'm on a brand new MacBook here today, so it's asking me for some additional clicks here to be able to share my screen. So one moment, let me try this again.
It's your system preferences box. Yeah.
Yep. There. Can you see my screen now?
Yep. It's all good.
Looks good.
So we offered last year for the first time in-person championships, which is really cool. So our goal here, we're trying to break the stigma, number one, of what is esports, right? Because you're going to have a lot of parents, maybe people in your own school, whether it's administrators or teachers or athletic directors that say, this isn't a sport. And you really do just have to see it to believe it. It's not kids just pounding Monster energy drinks, playing video games at 4 a.m. It really is strategic. There's a lot of communication skills that goes into this, a lot of teamwork, a lot of practicing, a lot of, strategy, as I mentioned. So we want to put on events where people can see this live and we can honor the kids, right? We want to make these kids feel like they're just as important as the quarterback for the football team, right? Or the track star. And so they're on a stage, they're wearing jerseys, there's people cheering them on. We have shoutcasters giving play-by-play on the screen so you can see what's going on, and maybe so you can have the game explained to you if you don't understand, like I do sometimes in League of Legends. Wait, who's winning? I can't really tell. So this was at Eastern Michigan University, and we recognized 3 different teams from Novi and Dakota and East Kentwood High School. You can see they have jerseys, right? Medals, trophies. We have a partnership with the Detroit Pistons gaming team. We ran a level up virtual tournament last year, and Divine Child High School actually won a $2,500 donation to their esports program, which was really cool. And then in the spring, we ran an in-person championship again at Oakland University. And that was open to the public. We had news reporters show up, and they have a really, really cool facility there. And again, we had different teams make it. A lot of the colleges you're finding out are taking their old student rec centers from the days of billiards and little mini movie theaters and pinball machines that I remember when I was in college, and they're turning them into esports arenas and labs. So you can see a really cool setup on these different games. And again, we had some champions, new champions that were new schools to our league this year, Byron Center and Bloomfield Hills High School. This year, we're planning on some additional weekend in-person tournaments at different colleges. We're going to try, as you remember that map that Jacob showed at the beginning, we have a lot of participation in Southeast Michigan, which is awesome. We were trying to expand more to the west side, the northern side, and into the UP. So we're going to try and have some more regional events, if you will. And again, I just like the idea of doing it at college campuses to get some of these kids who probably aren't typically engaged in normal activities at school to get involved and to think about future plans and what that could possibly look like at college or in their career. So doing it at these college campuses is really cool. So we're going to do a fall Rocket League tournament at Western Michigan. We're going to do that virtual tournament with the Pistons again. We've got a spring Smash Brothers tournament set for Divine Child High School. Just like you take your basketball team sometimes to Little Caesars Arena to play before the Pistons game, we're going to try and do that same model, except with a handful of esports teams playing on the floor. What's really cool is we're going to be doing an Explore Esports conference on December 9th, mixed in with our semifinals on December 9th and our final championship matches on December 10th. And that's going to be at Oakland University. We're hoping to bring in a lot of professional esports personnel, different industry folks related to careers and business to come in and give some keynotes and some keynote panels, have some breakout sessions. Again, we'll do spring championships. We are doing a middle school club model that's really just more of like a club format where MASSP is providing like a curriculum to kind of do like a once a week type of a gaming club, if you will. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to try and do some webinars for new coaches so you can connect with some veteran coaches and ask questions. And then as well as virtual strategy sessions for players. And we are working actually right now, we're going to have our first ever college intern join our team. That's a college esport athlete to help us grow and connect and kind of continue connecting people in the college realm to the high school environment as well. So a lot of cool things planned with the Michigan High School Esports League this year. Any other, let's see, questions or things coming through here? Looks like we have a lot of them answered right now. So, if you have any other questions, feel free to connect. I know Mike and Jacob put their email in there. I will add mine as well into the chat. We just love to grow this. We want to get it so big that, every school is represented in the entire state, get it big enough where we can start doing maybe we can start doing divisions, right, for different size schools, or gotta have a regional approach, whatever it might be. We'd love to see that. Across the nation, Georgia has, I think last time we looked, like 65-70% of their schools have an esports team. And so Michigan's a little further behind in that aspect. Collegiately, we're leaders, actually, believe it or not, in the country. We have, I think, 26 or 28 different college programs in the state of Michigan. So high school has to just catch up a little bit here. So we'd love to have you join. I got to check in with one person here because they were asking about some of the unified stuff. I don't know if that question got asked or not or answered.
It did.
Okay.
We do have a question from Colin right now. Is there any specific info on the MS model, or is that still being planned out?
Colin, we are doing a pilot round right now. We have like 10 different schools, urban, rural, suburban schools that are piloting it. And our plan is to roll it out for like semester 2 after Christmas break. I'm going to add in my colleague's name to the chat, Nina Davis. She's a former middle school principal from Lance Cruz Middle School East. And she's the one that is kind of taking the lead on the middle school program. So just make sure you grab her email. You can shoot her an email if you want and just say, hey, I was on the webinar. We're interested in maybe that. And she will make sure she adds you to like her communication list. So when we're ready to roll it out, that you would receive that info. Great question. Other questions here? Oh, we got it. All right. Very cool. So, we'd love to have you start in time to be able to join us for the fall. If you're going to wait, you want to wait till maybe spring or something, that's an option too. You might even be able to still join in the fall and just like do that scrimmage model kind of a thing where you're not committing to the league, just to, again, to get your toes a little wet. We see some schools do that as well. But one other thing that I want to mention too, by the way, is if you are going to be a new school, and you do join us, there's a referral program that if you're able to get other schools to join, they have a really cool reward program where the new school gets $500 off the registration fees. And then the school that referred the new school would get that $500 as well. So it's a great way to make sure, like, if you got a neighboring school within your district, right? Or a neighboring school in your county, or maybe it's your crosstown rival or whatever it is. Maybe you have your niece or nephew is into esports and they go to a school over on the other side of the state. And it's just a great way to help grow our league, make it more competitive, more fun, and just give more kids opportunities to do something that they normally haven't been able to do. So really appreciate your time here. We planned for 45 minutes just about, and we're just about there. So I'll hang out for another minute or two. I don't know if Jacob, you want to throw up the QR code one last time, maybe if you want, go ahead.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Hang out if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, hopefully we'll see you guys in the fall.
Yeah, thank you all again for having us, and we really appreciate it. Reach out to Jacob. We've got the email in the chat if you're a brand new school to esports. And of course, reach out to me if you're coming back again for Michigan Esports. We're very excited for a successful fall 22 season. So thank you, Ryan.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate everyone who came out today, and we got the QR code back on the screen here that you can go ahead and take a quick snapshot of.
Hey, so I gotta take this back with me, right?
Awesome. Yeah, like Jacob said, screenshot or take a photo of that QR code. It'll ask you to fill out the form, and we can set up a time to talk a little further. So yeah, thank y'all again, and see you on the field.
That's right. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a great day.
Bye.